Good afternoon, Dr. Parthasarathy. I understand you're a spinal surgeon and also do marathons. Can you just introduce yourself, your background as an orthopedic surgeon first, and then your introduction into running?
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm Dr. Parthasarathy. I'm a qualified orthopedic and spine surgeon. And I'm into a lot of fitness activities, which I will hopefully be able to tell you about in a little while. I did my master's, I did my MBBS from KMC Mangalore, which comes under the Manipal University, and then went ahead to do the D Ortho from KMC Manipal, also under Manipal, and then a DNB in orthopedics from the National Board. I followed this up with a fellowship from the National Board in Spine Surgery in the acclaimed Ganga Hospital in Coimbatore, following which for the last 6 years I've been practicing spine surgery and orthopedic surgery in Chennai.
So, can you tell me something how you got into running?
So there was a point in time during my training somewhere around 2006 when I felt I was a lot overweight and I had a lot of free time on my hands, so I spent about a month and a half doing a lot of things in the gym with a very tight diet, and I managed to lose a lot of weight at that point in time. But during training, because of all the pressures of work, I let it all go. And when I came back to Chennai in 2010, I was this overweight and not so fit person. The first step, of course, was to get into my routine, which was I was a regular gymmer for about 3 years, and I used to make sure I was in the gym for at least 45 minutes to an hour every day. But somehow it didn't give me the all-round fitness or the kind of shape that I wanted to be in. Somebody hooked me on to running. One of my close friends said, it's very good if you try to run the 10 kilometers at the Wipro Chennai Marathon. This was in 2013. And registered me. And this was the starting point. My only aim was to not make a fool of myself in that race and just finish it off, hopefully not coming in last. And that was where it got started. I started off by doing short runs on the treadmill and then slowly, progressively increased this. Every Sunday I would try to run longer. So the week before the race, I decided that I would run 12 kilometers just to see if I could finish off 12 and then run the 10. And all this training took exactly a month and a half, by which time I was able to complete the Wipro Chennai Marathon 10 kilometers. In what I would think now is not a very great time, but I realized that it was the start of a set of achievements that gave me a lot of joy. In fact, immediately after I finished that 10 kilometers, I quickly progressed over the next month itself to running 18 to 20 kilometers on one run a week, which usually came on Sunday. And me, the person who liked to party on Saturday and sleep late and wake up very late on Sunday, was going to bed at 9 on Saturday and getting up at 3 in the morning, carrying 2 bottles of water with me and getting off out of my house and running in whichever direction I felt like, just because it was fun to run. That's how this started. So now, what then happened was, after I finished a couple of runs, somebody said, why don't you try a triathlon? And I knew how to swim. Cycling was, of course, something that we all knew how to do. So I thought it wasn't a bad idea. So I registered myself 3 months later for a sprint triathlon, which is about the shortest distance that you can do in a triathlon, which was a 750-meter swim, followed by a 20-kilometer cycling and a 5-kilometer run. I struggled to complete it, and in fact I walked most of the 5 kilometers, and that was the level of my fitness. But it was something that spurred me on to train in all of these 3 things, and also to realize very quickly that I needed to lose a lot of weight if I wanted to get better at this. So March, after I finished the triathlon, I looked at my training schedule, figured out the times that I wanted to train, increased the timings to make sure I ran at least 2 to 3 times a week, cycled once or twice a week, and swam twice a week. And I didn't let go of my gymming, so I used to weight train 5 days a week. And in that short period of the next 3 months, I lost a lot of weight. I was looking a lot fitter, and I was getting a lot faster. These changes that I brought on at that point in my life were no longer forced. So I was no longer feeling that I had to make a big sacrifice by not staying up late and going out with friends or partying at night, or even skimping on what I ate and eating very little or eating exactly what I needed with no junk food. All that didn't seem like a sacrifice anymore. It was not very difficult to do. It was quite easy for me to go to a party and just sip on a lime soda and not feel bad about it at all. And probably that was what made it a lifestyle change. And I think a lifestyle change is when you find that you choose the healthier option because that's what you want to do, and you don't find joy in choosing the unhealthier option. And probably that's something that we can't force on ourselves. Probably it's something that we sort of move on towards, and we get there and feel happy that we've kind of reached there. So that was 2014, and since 2014 there's been a long series of training blocks in which I've improved my running time, I've improved my swim time, and I've progressed in the distance that I wanted to do. Actually, there's really no hurry to get anywhere when you're doing this kind of endurance training. It's not like you have to achieve some target at the end of this year by which you validate your exercise. But it is good to set some targets for yourself. It's just not good to feel bad that you didn't achieve them as long as you tried hard enough. And over a period of time, I've seen a lot of improvement in my timings and in my fitness levels. And I no longer worry about how heavy I am or what I'm doing in terms of weight control. The weight takes care of itself because I'm just trying hard to get better at what I want to do.
Can you tell me what has been your latest marathon and what was your timing?
So this is 2016. I've been running half marathons since February 2014, which was within 3 months of running. Starting running, I started running half marathons, which are 21 kilometers long. Following that, half marathons was something that I did on a regular basis. Every 2 or 3 months I would run one. In fact, most of 2015 I was running 21 kilometers or so every Sunday. And then what I did was I decided that it was time to take the plunge and do the 42, which is the big thing. And it's a lot different from running a 21 because there's just a lot more time involved and a lot more difficulty involved in crossing over that. Moving from 10 to 21 was very easy, but moving from 21 to 42 was a huge jump in terms of volume of training, the amount of time that I had to be running, the amount of time I had to be on my feet, and more importantly, what I had to eat while I was running. And that's really something that needs to be figured out only by trial and error. So it was a long plan. I decided in July 2015 to run the Mumbai Marathon, full marathon, in January 2016. So my training started somewhere in September, where I started increasing the length of my runs, targeting to reach 30 to 35 kilometers at least in 3 or 4 runs before I reached the event. Unfortunately for me at that point in time, Chennai was reeling under floods. We had rains, very heavy rains, so we lost a few of our long runs to that. However, it was a great experience helping out in all of those things. And finally went to the Mumbai Marathon, thought I did a pretty good job and finished off in 5 hours and 4 minutes for the full marathon. And that's still my only full marathon. But that spurred me on to restart my triathlon because I had sort of left it on the back burner for 2015. I did no triathlons in 2015. So I then registered.
Can you tell our viewers what is a triathlon in terms of the distance covered?
Yeah, so the triathlon that I did in July, which is the toughest one up till now that I've done, is the half iron triathlon. It's called the half iron because half of the Ironman. But the half iron is in no way half of anything. It's an extremely difficult race by itself. It involves swimming for 1.9 kilometers, then cycling 90 kilometers, and then following it up with a 21.1 kilometer run. That's a half marathon. It's a little difficult race because again it comes down to 3-4 things that you do not get in any other races. The length of the race is long, and you need to make sure that you're eating all the way, otherwise you might just stop because you don't have any energy left. And you have to keep yourself hydrated well because it's Chennai weather, it's just so hot and sultry that you need to make sure you're getting adequate fluids, otherwise you just fall down. So it was a totally different race to prepare for. The other thing was because I was preparing for a triathlon, I had to change the way I trained to make sure that I get all these components in of 2 to 3 cycling trials a week, which included some cycling distances of up to 3 hours on consecutive days and running for 2 to 3 hours. So my training schedule involved some days, some weeks 18 hours a week, which was more than 2.5 hours a day sometimes, and that was quite an ask with my profession, but something that I was very passionate about, so I could push through.
Oh, it's wonderful that you managed to complete the half Ironman, which many people would even not even think of registering for an event like that. Now, coming to the fact that you're a spinal surgeon, in what way would you actually prevent injuries when you're competing at such high intensity of training as well as running?
So the problem with endurance training is that it's a very repetitive thing, and repetitive things lead to repetitive injuries. There are a few things that you have to take care of. One of them is cross training, which in triathlon it is inbuilt, that you don't do one particular activity again and again every day, because you're using different muscles, you're giving different stress zones, you're probably protecting your body in a very nice way because you choose to train in 3 disciplines and not 1. But yes, pure endurance running has its fair share of injuries. In fact, they say that 90% of runners will injure themselves every year in some form or the other. And so injury is not really completely preventable, but there is a lot of smart sense involved in recovering from it and identifying what your problem is. There are a few things that are quite basic and usually just come across to other runners very easily. One is, of course, choosing the right equipment, having the right shoes, probably changing your shoes quick enough when they're worn out. The other thing is enthusiasm. You see, once you've run 10 kilometers, there's this want to do it again and again and again, and suddenly you realize you've increased your volume too fast. And that's the difference in endurance running, is that your musculoskeletal system takes a longer time to adapt to this repetitive stress than your cardiovascular system. So you will be far less breathless running 10 kilometers than your joints and bones can take it. So it's very important that you scale up your mileage very, very slowly. You can, however, scale up your fitness by changing the thing you're doing. So if you're running and you add on cycling, then you're a lot better than just running alone, and your fitness will still improve. And this takes off a lot of stress out of your body. The other things are, of course, being sensible about your diet, because endurance training per se requires a lot more protein than we take in a normal diet. In fact, most of us are quite deficient in our protein intake, and recognizing that and increasing your proteins is something that is key to making sure you don't have injuries.
Do you recommend protein supplements for all the high intensity training?
I do recommend protein supplements, and I take them too for endurance training, especially if you're quite focused about it, because it's very difficult to get the kind of high concentration of protein naturally unless you are a meat eater and make sure that you're eating meat and eggs every day, which is not quite possible for most people. So in that sense, it's very easy to get a large volume of protein from.
Is there anything that we need to worry about its effect on kidneys?
So the effect on the kidneys is a little overstated. Most of the protein powders have no direct effect. The kidney related issues relate to bodybuilding, where they tend to have a high protein diet as well as strangle their water intake, because they want to appear more cut or ripped for the camera, and that's a totally different kind of training. But yes, protein powders form a very strong part of increasing your protein intake.
Do you see many doctors running?
Actually, yes, there are quite a few friends of mine, doctors, running, and excellent. They're the only people who can really practice what they preach. So I recommend it. And I also recommend that if you have a problem, it's better to see either a sports medicine doctor or see a doctor who runs, who's into it, who's as passionate as you are about it, because she's the one who's not going to tell you stop running, running is the cause of everything, because
Correct.
it's not. You know, it's not the cause of your bad knees, it's not the cause of your bones going to dust. It's quite simply the cause that you are fit. So
one of the concerns in India is that diabetes is on such a huge rise that lifestyle change is one of the most important steps that need to be controlled in diabetes. So if doctors take up to fitness and like you running, they may be in a better position to actually encourage patients to take on a better lifestyle. What do you think about these watches like Fitbit and apps which promote fitness? Do you see doctors actually advising their patients to take on these gadgets to improve lifestyle?
I think the gadgets to improve lifestyle per se never give you the answer. It's not the Fitbit that gives you fitness. It's not the Garmin that makes you faster. It's purely your effort and your willpower and dedication, and that will just show. The minute you start exercising, it will show. It will come through very, very easily. People will see that you're fitter and happier, and you will see it too. Fitness is something that's so addictive because it makes you feel very good. When people tell me, what are you going to do by living a longer life and staying fit? I don't say stay fit for a longer life. I stay fit because tomorrow is a better day if I'm fit. I feel happier if I've worked out this today and my day goes better. I'm more positive. I'm less angry with everything, and it really helps me that way. And patients are also don't really understand the kind of effect that lifestyle is having on them these days. We have such a sedentary lifestyle, it's actually difficult for us to even include any kind of fitness activity in our lifestyle. And then they come, quite commonly I see them in my OP with neck pains and back pains and so many other related issues to sleeplessness, obesity, just stress, and all of these things are very, very easily offset by going for a fitness program. And you don't have to spend so much time as I spend. You don't have to commit your entire life to fitness. You do need to keep yourself healthier. It just makes you function better. For now, not for when you're 60 or 70 or 80. Not at all.
Does it mean you resort to less NSAIDs when you see patients, or does your approach change because you're a fit person and you see a person who's a patient who's not very fit with all orthopedic problems? What actually goes on in your mind?
So yeah, it is a lot different from my practice, say 4 years ago. 4 years ago, if somebody had a pain, I would treat the pain. I would tell them, maybe fitness is going to help you. But now I can put my foot down and say, look, this is your problem. Your lifestyle is your problem and your pain is not going to go away. You see too many 24 years, 25-year-olds who work in sectors where they need to sit, and they sit the whole day, and they're 2 hours on a bus to work, then sit in front of a computer for 12 hours, and somehow they mysteriously expect themselves to not have any pain, to not put on any weight, and to not have any problems. I think if you abuse your body like that, you are going to have the problems associated with it, and that per se is going to definitely affect the way you live your life. And most people don't take to it easily. When you tell them that their lifestyle is wrong, their first answer is they don't have the time. So I think that's not a fair answer to your body. If you can make the time, anybody can make the time for what they prioritize. And
so coming back to time, how do you actually schedule surgeries on a day where you're having a long run?
So couple of things. One is, of course, that I try to keep my Saturday and Sunday, my 3 plus 4 hour training pockets on Saturday and Sunday. Does not mean that I don't operate. I work on Saturday, I work a full day on Saturday, and Sunday is the only day that I will take off, in the sense that I don't schedule any surgeries or anything like that. I used to be the person who used to start surgeries at 6 in the morning and 6:30 in the morning. Now I don't start any surgeries before 8. I'm quite lucky because spine surgery is an elective field, so I don't have any emergencies to run for. But I do know people who do emergencies and still manage to come and run the next day. Sleep is important, so you have to make sure that you get the time for sleep. But simple scheduling things and telling yourself that you can keep to within time limits for everything. I make sure that my outpatients finish by 6 o'clock. I give them appointments early and I don't see anybody after 6 in the evening. I have to head home after 6. These are rules that I keep for myself, and I figure that if patients are desperately need to see you, they will come to the emergency, or if they have an appointment, they should come on time. So making sure that my timings are adhered to, I can make time for this. And in my training schedule, it's almost every day. I'm up at 4 in the morning and I'm out at 5, whether it's running, cycling, or strength training. It's at 5 in the morning. If I don't have a surgery, I will do 2 sessions, which would be a running plus a strength training, or a cycling plus a strength training. I swim in a pool which is close to my workplace, so just when I finish off work, I head straight out to the pool, swim, and then get back home. It takes a little more time. I spend some more time getting things ready for my swim before I leave home in the morning. Same way with getting my food ready. I carry my food with me because I find it difficult to find healthy options for my lunch. So it's very occasional that I'll have a Subway salad if I'm too late to make lunch for myself. But I make my breakfast and my lunch in the morning, carry it with me. And yes, of course, I must thank my mother who helped me through most of this. But yeah, I make sure that I have what I need. I carry nuts in the car, so I'm not snacking on anything that's unhealthy. And that's how I try and make it work.
Well, it's been wonderful talking to you, Dr. Parthasarathy. I'm sure many young viewers will be motivated to take fitness like you have done. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you very much.